Hey, it's your friend Choice CJ here, and this is going to be my team builder in battle for week 5 of the MPL, season number 7. We're going up against Root and his New Jersey Brobats. Make sure you go check him out down in the description below. I only have my team shown on here, but I'm going to read off his roster, and then I'll put an image in the video in editing to show you guys his roster. I just don't have it saved on Showdown at the moment, and I just want to crank this recording out because the battle is going up tomorrow. So Root has on his team Noivern, Alolan Persian, Megaladios, Tauros, Scalvantula, Miltank, Darmanitan, Decidueye, Scizor, Primarina, and Donphan. So it's a pretty scary team just for Megaladios alone. Megaladios is a pretty restrictive Pokemon, like it's pretty hard to handle. Because it has a lot of very versatile sets. It's very good at wall breaking, it's very good at sweeping with Calm Mind and Dragon Dance. It can be very good in terms of being a bulky mon and things like that. For example, he might like to bring a bulky Megaladios for dealing with my Infernape. So just lots of options there for sure. Darmanitan is probably his biggest overall offensive threat, just because my fire resists are pretty limited. Like my best one being Mega Blastoise. For a Pokemon like Darmanitan, I'd really love to wear it down with like Hazards and Rocky Helmet and like its own Flare Blitz recoil. But Mega Blastoise, you know, since it's required to hold the Mega Stone, it can't hold a Rocky Helmet, so I'll sort of lose that ability. So I have to kind of take an alternate strategy to handling it. Primarina, obviously, is a Pokemon with no switch-ins. That's definitely a scary Pokemon to have to handle. Scizor is fat and annoying. I don't have a lot of lures for it on my team this week. I pretty much just have Infernape, and that's it, to be able to handle it. So if he's like a bulky Roost set, that could be a problem. We'll have to see how that goes. Webs with Calvantula is potentially annoying, but I can kind of... So Blastoise, you know, having Mega Launcher and things like Dark Pulse and also having access to Ice Beam has ways to hit Decidueye relatively hard, his spin blocker, but like I have to predict his Decidueye to come in. Which is a tricky thing to do. So basically what I'm trying to say is that webs can be a problem because I might have trouble getting them away, even though I have Rapid Spin on my Blastoise. And then, yeah, like, you know, Donphan is a potential ground-type sweeper. I've struggled with ground types in the past few weeks, especially versus Johnny last week. So that's something I'm scared of. Tauros is a regular, is like a normal type attacker, is scary. Yeah, like I'm not expecting Noivern, Persian, all that much, just because I don't think that they're that good. I don't necessarily expect Miltank, just because I don't know. I don't know what it checks on my team. Like it doesn't really. I guess it's like fat enough to switch in and do most things and like do milk drink shenanigans and stuff like that. But it doesn't seem like the best mon. Like I think he'd rather bring Donphan as his rocker. Yeah. So anyway, this is sort of the general thoughts about the matchup. And let's not waste any more time and hop on into our team. So we did make a transaction in between weeks 4 and 5. We did drop Mesprit for Cresselia. And so I like Cresselia a lot just because it's a lot fatter than Mesprit, while still offering a lot of the same utility. It doesn't have Stealth Rock or U-Turn, but it does have Lunar Dance as a good like switch-in for Healing Wish. And then it has Levitate, so it provides me the ground immunity that Mesprit also provides. Which I can use to switch into ground types, and also use it to dodge like electric terrain if I guess I want to bring like a Rest Talk set. And then yeah, just being so damn fat in general makes it quite good. It has just like some pretty decent coverage moves as well. So Cresselia is a Pokemon that I wanted to upgrade to, and we're bringing it in the first week of action. We're actually bringing in a pretty fun looking weakness policy set. We put a little bit of HP and defense in here, but mostly into special attack, into speed. The special attack, I think, 2 shots, like a Spadef Scizor. And then if we get our weakness policy boost, it should 1-shot. We have enough speed on here. I can't remember if it's for Adamant Scizor or Jolly Scizor. It looks kind of like Jolly Scizor, because it's base 65. No, I guess it's just for Adamant. I don't know. It's been like 2 weeks since I built and played this team, so I can't quite recall. But it's enough for some sort of speedy Scizor. Yeah, we just put the rest into bulk. But yeah, if we do trigger a weakness policy boost, which I think should be relatively easy with this Pokemon, we can really go to town, because like Besides like a banded U-turn from Scizor or like a Specs Bug Buzz from Galvantula, nothing can really like 2-hit KO us, which is crazy. And then, yeah, like Psychic, Moonblast, and Hidden Power Fire hits everything. Like, Psychic is unresisted except for Lottie and Persian and Scizor. And so Moonblast obviously hits Persian and Lottie, and then Scizor is hit by HP Fire. So I quite like this thing set up opportunities. Yeah, and then we could just use this as a Pokemon in general to like switch into Donphan, to switch into Tauros, Miltank, just basically anything that's annoying. Even Lottie. We can use this to switch into Lottie. So I think Cresselia is a really good win con this game. Next we have Electrium Z Coco. I kind of bring these sorts of Coco sets a lot, just like sets with U-turn and 3 attacks. And so I think the last week we brought like a U-turn with a Farium Z with Twinkle Tackle. But this time we're going just with straight up Electrium Z. I liked that in order to like guarantee one-shot something like Scizor or Miltank. AV Primarina cannot survive Electrium Z boosted Thunderbolts, stuff like that. I thought it was good value. Bravebird, like Z Bravebird for Supersonic Sky Strike was tempting for the Decidueye, but like a Spadef Decidueye, which is sort of the set that I'm expecting to deal with Coco, cannot really switch into like Dazzling, to Thunderbolt plus Bravebird or like Dazzling Gleam plus Bravebird. Anyway, like Bravebird does a lot, even without any attack investment, as you see on my screen. I don't have like any investment. So it just sort of felt like a waste to have the Z Bravebird because I don't need that much damage to kill the Decidueye. The only reason it would be nice is to not take any recoil damage from the Bravebird. Like I could just go for Supersonic Skystripe and keep as much HP as possible. But otherwise, like this sort of pivoting set is just really nice. He doesn't have very good switch-ins. It's pretty much just Decidueye and Donphan. His main electric resists, and like Latios, of course, but like Latios doesn't really appreciate Dazzling Gleam or U-turn. And then, yeah, like Decidueye we can hit with the Brave Bird, and then like Donphan we can U-turn into a Cresselia. If he goes for like a knockoff or something as we bring in Cresselia, that's actually amazing. So that's kind of what we're just trying to use Coco to like revenge kill, gain momentum, like bring in his Pokemon such as Donphan and Decidueye, and go from there. So we have a Fist Plate Infernape this week, and we're having just Fire Punch coverage instead of Flare Blitz. So with this investment and Fire Punch, we can pretty easily still one-shot like Fizdef Scizor. I think if he's Akaberry, we still only do like 50, but we should be able to one-shot even Fizdef Scizor. I like Mach Punch in order to hit some annoying mons on his team, like Scarf Darmanitan mainly. Like I said, like Scarf Darmanitan it completely annihilates my team, so I want to have some counterplay for that. Close Combat hits pretty much everything hard, except for like Latios and Decidueye and things like that. Like I almost went with Gunk Shot over Close Combat to hit like Primarina as hard as possible and Lottie as hard as possible. But pretty much, if I'm expecting those two Pokemon to be switching in, I should be U-turning and bringing in my Coco. So, like, if I'm trying to make a prediction, it just makes more sense to predict and click U-turn. So Close Combat allows me to hit Miltank as hard as possible if he does decide to bring that, because that Pokemon's annoying. Hits Persian as hard as possible. But yeah, so mainly just like a good offensive pressuring Mon. Lures in Lottie and Primarina, which, like I said, my Coco can handle. And then having the Fist Plate boosted Mach Punch to do as much damage to Darmanitan is really nice. And kind of along those lines, that gets me into my next set. So I have a pretty heat-looking Empoleon here. Fizdef Assault Vest with fully physically attacking moves. So I really wanted the fully physically attacking set because it lets me get the full power Aqua Jet, which I can use to hit Darmanitan hopefully as hard as possible. Like we do like 50 or 60 or so with the Aqua Jet, so I think that's really nice. If we get a Brox, he takes one Flare Blitz, puts us in good position. I kind of like the special spread, or sorry, the physical spread as well, because it gives me the option to run Avalanche. So if he's like a Calm Mind Lottie, we can still punish that with Avalanche and do as much damage as possible. If we were Ice Beam and he's Calm Minding up, there's not really much I can do to that with my Empoleon. I guess I could run Roar, but then Roar doesn't let me run Assault Vest. Like, Assault Vest makes me a very good, safe switch into Calm Mind Lottie, Scarf for Specs Primarina, Noivern, Like, those are the main things it lets me switch into. And then, like, just the Fizdef investment that I have lets me kind of switch into Scizor, physically offensive Mega Latios, Tauros. Like, yeah, I can have EQ to do a good bit of damage to me, but I should still live. So, like, things like that, that's kind of the thought process with, like, this sort of mixed set. Steel Wing is our best attacking move to hit Primarina, which is kind of embarrassing, but it is what it is. But yeah, so got this mixed spread here. I forget what all the calcs do exactly, but it's just it's like basically how do I live like +1 EQ from Lottie, I think is kind of what it boiled down to. And then put the rest into attack to make these moves hit as hard as possible. Because like Empoleon, especially since I'm not specially attacking, I'm physically attacking, it can kind of be bait for like substitutes. So I didn't want to be completely passive versus something like substitute Latios or whatever, substitute Darmanitan, I don't know. So we then have another physically defensive Pokemon here with our Mega Blastoise. We are running a how do you call this? A bold nature instead of a relaxed nature. Like relaxed would give us the full boost of the Aqua Jet. But I wanted to have just the tiny bit of investment in speed, just in case he tries to creep this with Decidueye. Like he could run very easily, like a almost fully Spadef spread, but then still put enough speed on it for Blastoise. So this is to counteract that kind of creep. But yeah, then we put a lot into Spadef, and a lot into Fizdef. We can just take hits from pretty much anything on the team. I think I don't know exactly what the investment's for, but like we should be able to take a hit from even Specs Primarina or like a Draco Meteor from Latios or something like that. And then Aura Sphere plus Ice Beam hits pretty much everything that's on the team. Like the only things that could switch into Aura Sphere are Noivern, Lottie, that's basically it, and Decidueye. And so like all those things get hit super effectively by Ice Beam. So it should be fine. We don't hit Primarina very hard with any of these moves, but that's okay. And then yeah, like Rapid Spin is another important move slot for us, just in case he tries to set up webs, like I said, because webs can potentially beat our team. Like that's part of the reason I like this Cresselia set as well, is because it's not affected by the sticky webs. So, but just in case, like we didn't really need another move. I could have run a water move in this slot, but it wasn't required. Like Aura Sphere just does as much damage to something like Scizor as Scald would because of the Mega Launcher boost. So that's the thought process there. Then last but not least, we have an Eviolite Piloswine, very standard looking stuff. We made this pretty Spadef this week because I wanted to be able to switch in to Lottie and like take some Dracos or Dragon Pulses if we need. So that's pretty nice. It's also just relatively good offensively. Like obviously, just like Mamoswine is, like Ground and Ice is a very good offensive pairing in terms of stab moves. But we just are going to be relying on Piloswine defensively this week to switch into Lottie. Also switches in very easily to like Galvantula and things like that. And it's our rock setter, so Piloswine is an important mon as it is in many of our games. And so I kind of took a long time. I hopefully like went reasonably into the depth of the team. Even though, like I said, I don't remember exactly what all the spreads are for, but hopefully you understand the thought process pretty well. And now let's go on into the battle, where you can see Root has brought his Tauros, Miltank, Decidueye, Latios, Galvantula, and Donphan. So I really was expecting the Darmanitan to come, just because, like I said, I felt like it completely wrecks my entire team. So I'm very relieved not to see that, although very, very surprised. The double normal, I was not expecting at all. Tauros, I can understand from like an offensive perspective. It's just like EQ plus Body Slam is pretty good versus my team. But the Miltank, I think, was a bit more of a surprise. It makes me a little bit fearful that it's like an offensive Donphan, because if it's not pressured to bring rocks, he could easily bring like a Rock Polish variant, and I think it's even gets SD, right? I don't think I'm making that up. I'll put a comment if I am making that up. So I'm a little bit weary of that. Otherwise, definitely expected the Lottie because it's pretty good. Because he hasn't brought the Primarina, I actually think it's likely to be like a bulky variant in order to deal with Infernape. And it also allows it to deal reasonably well with like Empoleon, Blastoise to a lesser extent. And so like that kind of made sense to me there. Galvantula, I could see either staying or coming. Obviously, it did come, so I'm weary of sticky webs. And then just like if it's like a Life Orb or Spec set, it could be potentially scary because I'm maybe giving it Electric Terrain boosts with my Tapu Koko, so I have to be on the lookout for that. I'm going to lead with Infernape. And so I led with Infernape last week, and it bit me in the ass right away. If you didn't watch that video, I tried to bluff a Choice Scarf Infernape on turn 1, and it bit me in the ass. If he leads with something that could potentially be Scarf and outspeed me, such as the Tauros, I'm not going to play games with it. But like versus Don Fan or Decidueye, I'm just going to U-turn. And be in a good position that way. So I'm hoping he leads with something like that, or maybe Miltank to get a Brox, and we'll go from there. So yeah, I'm going to lead Infernape, click play, and wish good luck, have fun to our good buddy Root. So we are 2-2 heading into this game. Would really like to catch a W to get to a 3-2 record, because 2-3 is definitely a bit harder to bounce back from, but 3-2 puts us right in the thick of things. And with that in mind, we're going to lead off with our Infernape as he leads with his Mbaku, his Tauros. So this is sort of the situation I didn't want. I don't want to take any major risks like I did last week. So I'm going to switch out into my my Cresselia, as he doubles into his Lottie. And so he went before me, so he definitely outspeeds. I don't know if he's Scarf or not, but at this point he knows that I'm not Scarf. So that's important for us to know. But I'm just going to go for a Moonblast to try and hit this Lottie that's in front of me as he switches into his Miltank. And it takes very little, which makes sense. Miltank is pretty fat, and Cresselia, even with all the special attack investment that I have, is not very strong. I definitely need to get off the weakness policy boost if I want to have a chance at sweeping here. But I'm going to switch out, and I'm going to go into my Blastoise here. Because if he wants to set up rocks, I can try and spin that away. Which would be pretty nice. But he goes for the Toxic. Definitely a good play, trying to hit the Cresselia for as much damage as possible. Even if I was like a cheeky sort of like substitute set or something like that, unless I put a lot of speed in, his Miltank has a chance to outspeed. Of course, that is the case. Like, I do have a lot of speed on my Cresselia, but he wouldn't know that necessarily. The only other thing that would have been bad for him is if I had gone into Empoleon, trying to predict a Toxic or a normal type move or something like that. Or even Stealth Rocks, like going to Stealth Rocks, or going to Empoleon and Stealth Rocks, like to threaten a potential Defog, could have potentially been bad for him. But anyway, he just throws off an Earthquake. I don't know if he was predicting me to switch out or what the deal was, but it doesn't do that much damage to me. I'm able to throw off a very powerful Aura Sphere. And I'm going to be pressuring him to go for the Milk Drink this turn. And he can just kind of spam Milk Drink. Because I'm eventually going to die to Toxic. And so, because I feel like he's inclined to do that, I'm just going to go hard into Infernape. It's pretty free. He doesn't have up his rocks yet. I'm not going to take any residual damage. And it puts him in I'll put him definitely heavily on the back foot. And so, the fact that he's leftovers as well is nice. It means he's not Chople Berry. It means that this close combat should be very scary versus him. I'm just going to go ahead and U-turn because I'm not expecting him to stay in. Miltank is a little bit of a problem for my team besides this Infernape, especially now that the Blastoise is weakened. So I'm going to go for the U-turn. It does like 55% to this Lottie. And so even though that's not Mega Evolved, and that's why it took a little bit of extra damage, like this Lottie is definitely not bulky at all. This is definitely like a fully offensive Latios. And so that's potentially spooky, right? Like he could potentially win with this thing if he's like a Calm Mind offensive variant or like a Dragon Dance variant. And so like I go into my Coco, which is obviously gonna be threatening the Dazzling Gleam. He's not gonna want to take that, and he goes straight on into his Miltank as I U-turn back into my Infernape. And then here I'm pretty sure I stay in and click Close Combat. Like he kind of has to make a play here. He kind of needs to step up. Like in order to get back into this game, and I try to capitalize on that and just go straight for the close combat. It was also like kind of risk free because close combat into Mach Punch on an incoming Lottie with no bulk investment should still kill. So there was really no play that he could make that was going to be good for him there. So like I felt like close combat was no drawback. Either I completely snipe the Miltank right off the bat, or I end up catching the Lottie with close combat into Mach Punch. But anyway, the Tauros comes in here. The amount of damage that he does not suggest that it's Life Orb, so I'm thinking that Scarf is relatively likely. Okay, I had to restart my recording because the lag on the video that I was watching was pretty bad. I wasn't able to provide commentary over it. But he has his Galvantula in on my Empoleon. I went for an Avalanche versus his Tauros, expecting potentially the Decidueye or the Lottie to come in. And I figured that would punish both of those plays. And then I stay in and go for Liquidation. Because I want to punish him if he wants to click Sticky Webs, because Liquidation plus Aqua Jet will kill him, and because of my Assault Vest, I should be able to live most variants of Galvantula if it's going for Thunder. And then he doubles into his Decidueye as I go for the Liquidation. I go into Infernape to threaten the Decidueye as he makes a smart double into his Donphan. That's basically his best response to Infernape at this point. So I just go for a U-turn into the Cresselia as he gets up his Stealth Rocks. So now we're playing with rocks on the field, which is a little bit annoying. But now I'm just going to throw off a Moonblast, actually, instead of a Psychic. I wanted to go for Moonblast because he could potentially go into his Lottie here on my Psychic and get off a Roost, and I don't want to allow that. Because it does seem to be like a scary offensive variant of Latios. I basically need to prevent that thing from getting any sort of setup off. So he goes into his Decidueye to take the Moonblast relatively easily. I'm going to stay in and click Psychic for a couple of reasons. If this is just like a bulky Spadef variant, it shouldn't be able to really do a lot of damage with Spirit Shackle to me, and then it puts me in a position where I have now my Weakness Policy boost, so I can start throwing off Psychics and doing a lot of damage to everything on the team. I also just don't have a great switch into this thing in general on my team. Yeah, I don't have a Grass Resist, really. I left Muck at home. The closest thing I have is Infernape. So I didn't really have a great play otherwise. So I felt like leaving Cresselia in was my play. But unfortunately he shows Swords Dance. And so on the second turn I do throw off another Psychic as he decides to go for a Roost, which puts him at a very comfortable range of HP. So this is definitely spooky. So I go for the Psychic once again. He should be able to freely SD here. He could have also gone for the Spirit Shackle potentially. And so going for basically I'm trying to figure out how do I get my Infernape in safest to try and kill this thing. And so the safest thing seemed to be to go for Psychic, force him to Roost again, and then I can go for a Fire Punch to do the most amount of damage. If I went into Infernape on the turn that he Swords Danced, but he actually clicked Spirit Shackle, then I'm kind of screwed because Infernape's not going to take that well. And Infernape's really the only way I have to revenge kill this thing at this point. So anyway, I'm in here now. I took the run round of rocks. He's at full HP, but my Fire Punch should be able to put him in range of Ice Shard from my Piloswine. I just need to live this Shadow Sneak, and an uninvested Shadow Sneak does not kill me. But it turns out that he is Adamant with quite a bit of attack investment. Not full attack investment, but enough where that Shadow Sneak was about a 50-50 roll to kill. I think it had a 56% chance to kill. So a little unfortunate that we didn't end up getting it, but hey, that's kind of how Pokemon works. So basically, my strategy is go into my Koko, throw off a Brave Bird, do as much damage as possible, and then go into my Piloswine and throw off an Ice Shard versus this thing. And so that's just what I do. He's able to kill me with Leaf Blade. So his 4 move slots are Swords Dance, Roost, Leaf Blade, and Shadow Sneak. Definitely a spooky combination. And he's looking to be around 40% HP or so. I don't know exactly what his spread is, but I pretty much have no choice but to go for the Ice Shard here, and hope that it kills. Like Hulk says it might, but he lives on just a sliver AHP. He's going to be able to easily kill me with the Leaf Blade. So that really sucks that he lived just barely. We looked at the calcs afterwards, and it was a 33% chance for me to kill, and a 60-some% chance for him to live. So that one was less in our favor, but still a roll. And now at this point, he looks to be 7 to 8%, 8 to 9% at most. My calc shows that Aqua Jet from my Blastoise has a pretty good chance to kill. I'm going to click that, and he literally lives on 1 HP this time. He's able to throw off a Leaf Blade. So, that one only had a 6% chance to kill when we looked at the HPs and stuff afterwards. So I don't really feel bad about missing out on that, in terms of being unlucky or Pokemon giving me hacks or anything. It just is so devastating that I couldn't get 1 more HP, right? And if I had gotten just slightly higher roll on the previous turn with the Piloswine, even if it didn't kill, I could have potentially kept my Blastoise there. And then I finally go into Empoleon. I'm able to throw off Aqua Jet and kill that thing. And so we're kind of in a bad position, though. We're down 4-2. And have very little chance of bouncing back. It all sort of depends on what sets he has on the rest of his mons. Because Cresselia, in theory, could potentially still bring it back if he isn't a Specs Galvantula. And so he goes for the Thunder, which kills me. It doesn't tell me anything of whether this is Specs or not. Electric Terrain was up, which pretty much guaranteed kills the Empoleon at all times. And so he does go on into this Tauros. So I throw off a Psychic. Which does a pretty decent chunk of damage. It does half damage, so I can two-shot this thing, which is really nice. He goes for a Body Slam, and do I go for another Psychic, or do I just recover here? No, I go for another Psychic, hoping that it's going to two-shot based on that first roll, but he lives with just a sliver of HP, and so we'll see in a moment why that's unfortunate. But basically, I'm going to Moonlight now as he goes into his Latios. And I can Moonblast this thing and try and take it out. If he's Roost and Calm Mind or something like that, then I'm in a little bit of trouble. I don't really have counterplay for that. But he is going to Mega Evolve. And actually misclick here, unfortunately. I click Psychic instead of Moonblast. It's going to end up not mattering too much. But he's going to Mega Evolve, throw off a Dragon Dance here. So this is really spooky just because a Outrage from this thing is pretty much going to end my life right now. As I go for the Psychic. He might have been in a range of HP where Moonblast killed. It's hard to say. Depends on his exact EV spread. But he's going to go for the Zen Headbutt here. And so I don't know if that was his own misclick or he didn't have the Dragon move. Maybe he had Zen Headbutt plus Earthquake. And so Zen Headbutt was his best way to hit me. But now I can kill it with Moonblast. So if Zen Headbutt and Earthquake was all that he had, it was clear then that he was just trying to sack it off. To get in this Tauros, and I'm wondering, okay, so what can this thing possibly do to me to be annoying? And he busts out the Endeavor, which is the sickest tech of all time. I do think I probably had a chance to win if not for this Endeavor Tauros at this point. Because if he had just thrown off a Body Slam, I could have recovered up on that, get into a pretty good amount of HP, and then been in a position to potentially live the Bug Buzz from the Galvantula. Again, it's kind of relying on the assumption that it's not Specs. I don't know exactly if that was a set that he brought or not. And the last one that he has in the back is the Dawn Fan. So I could basically recover up on that as much as I need to, and eventually whittle it down with Psychic. But as it is, there's obviously no way I'm going to be able to survive the Bug Buzz from the Galvantula at that range of HP. And so we end up with a 2-0 loss to Root. So very well played game to Root. The prep from the Decidueye was just really on point. I could have punished it if I had the Muck on my team. But obviously I didn't bring the Muck. Muck was okay in the matchup, but not amazing. It would have been nice for Lottie and Galvantula, but otherwise wasn't really a perfect mon to bring. But yeah, even though, so it definitely feels worse than a 2-0 loss. I'm grateful that it's only a 2-0 loss, but it felt like it was worse than a 2-0 because the Decidueye ended up getting 4 kills on my team. It killed Infernape, Tapu Koko. No, it did get 4. It killed Infernape, Tapu Koko, Piloswine, and Blastoise. So that feels like a little bit of a steamroller type of game. But I don't feel that bad about it. If there was just 1 or 2 small changes to the team, we wouldn't have been in this situation. So if I hadn't went with a timid nature on Tapu Koko, if I went instead with a naive nature, the Brave Bird would have done enough damage to put it in range of the Shard from Piloswine. So it would have only I would have only lost Infernape and Tapu Koko in that case. I lost basically a 50-50 roll with the Infernape to put the Decidueye in range of my Piloswine. So if I had won that, it wouldn't have been quite the steamroller. With the Blastoise, if I had gone with a relaxed nature over a bold nature, so basically if I'm not negative attack nature, the roll would have been much more in my favor. I think it would have been a 60% chance to kill with the Aqua Jet versus the 6% chance to kill that I had. Yeah, it felt like a steamroll in the match, but you could just look at a couple of little things and you can see how it could have definitely gone my way instead. So looking back on that, I don't feel super bad on the match. Like, I also don't think Root made any bad plays in this match. So, like, you know, I just tip my cap to him for having some really nice prep on his team. But yeah, like, I think if I had gotten the right opportunity with my Cresselia, and actually probably the better play, no, it's hard to say. So, like, if I just kept staying in with my Cresselia, and let him get to +6, like, +6 Shadow Sneak should kill my Cresselia because I'm not Fizz Def. Then at that point, nothing can survive +6 Shadow Sneak, basically. So, like, going into Inferno Point I did was the right play. But basically, like, if I could have gotten an opportunity with the Cresselia to get off the weakness policy, I think that would have put me in a great position this game. But it just didn't work out. It wasn't in the cards. But at the end of the day, I ended up with a 2-0 loss. So I'm grateful that it was as close as it was, like, all things considered. And I think it could have gone my way. It's just a couple of, like, of the stars that aligned just a little bit. Basically, all the stars, I think, aligned against me in terms of the small oversights in prep and the rolls and things like that. So with that said, we're dropping to a 2-3 record, which is definitely a bummer. Like I said, 3-2 sounds way better, but our season is by no means over with our 2-3 record. We're going to play Irish Emerald next week, and he has a very scary team featuring Ash Greninja, so we're going to do our best to even our record to a 500 record in that match, and I hope you guys will go check that out. If you do want to keep up to date on the MPL battles coming off of my channel, make sure you drop a like and leave a sub down below. And that'll help you stay up to date on all my other latest and greatest Pokemon and gaming content as well. So as always, thank you guys for watching, and until the next time, I'll see you guys later.